What happens when a homeless mother's desperate plea stops traffic in the heart of Manhattan? A billionaire stranger steps out of his car and recognizes the eyes that have haunted him for 3 years. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited to share this story with you today. It's going to take you on an emotional roller coaster you won't forget. Before we dive in, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do it now because trust me, you're going to want to see how this unfolds. Now let's begin. The rain came down in sheets, turning Manhattan's streets into rivers of gray. Mia Harper pressed her children closer against her body, trying to shield them from the downpour with a threadbare blanket that did nothing against the cold. Lily whimpered on her left, Noah clung silently to her right, both of them shaking. From cold or fear or hunger, Mia didn't know anymore. Maybe all three. "It's okay, babies," she whispered, though her voice cracked on the words. "Mama's got you. Mama's got you." But she didn't. Not really. Not when the eviction notice had come 2 weeks ago. Not when her last paycheck had gone to formula and diapers instead of rent. Not when her boss at the diner had fired her for missing shifts. Shifts she'd missed because Lily had been sick and childcare cost more than Mia earned in a day. 3 years. 3 years of fighting and scraping and barely surviving, and it all came down to this. Huddled on a street corner in the rain, waiting for social services to arrive and take away the only things that mattered. Across the street, Mia saw the black sedan, sleek, expensive, government-issued. Her heart dropped into her stomach. They were here. They'd found her. "No," she breathed. "No, no, no." The car door opened, and a woman emerged, mid-40s, severe suit, clipboard in hand. Ms. Catherine Rivera, the social worker who'd been assigned to Mia's case after a concerned citizen had called about 2 toddlers sleeping in a subway station. "Ms. Harper." Catherine's voice carried across the street, professional and final. "We need to talk." Mia pulled her twins closer. Lily started crying, the kind of tears that came from deep confusion, from knowing something was wrong but not understanding what. Noah buried his face in Mia's soaked shirt and held on with all the strength in his tiny 3-year-old body. "Please," Mia called out, her voice breaking. "Please don't take my children. I have nowhere to go, but I'm trying. I'm trying so hard. Just give me more time." "Ms. Harper, you've had time." Catherine stepped off the curb, crossing toward them with 2 police officers flanking her. "We've given you resources, referrals, assistance. You haven't followed through on any of it. Because there's a 6-month wait for housing." Mia was shouting now, desperation stripping away pride. "Because the shelters are full. Because every job wants full-time availability, but I can't afford childcare." Her voice cracked completely. "Please. Please don't do this. They need me. I'm all they have. And that's exactly the problem, Ms. Harper. They need stability. Safety. A home." Catherine was 3 feet away now, reaching out. "This is for their own good." "No." Mia scrambled backward, slipping on wet pavement, clutching her children like they might disappear if she let go. "You can't. I won't let you." Traffic had stopped. People were watching now, phones out, recording or calling for help, or just gawking at the spectacle of a mother's life falling apart in real time. Mia didn't care about the audience. Didn't care about the humiliation. She cared about the twins pressed against her chest, about their small hearts beating in sync with hers, about the way Noah's fingers twisted in her shirt like he could anchor himself to her through sheer force of will. "Mama." Lily's voice was so small, so scared. "Mama, I don't want to go." "You're not going anywhere, baby. I promise." But Mia couldn't keep that promise. She had no legal ground to stand on, no resources to fight with, nothing but love and desperation, and 3 years of memories these children were too young to understand. That's when the car stopped. Not just stopped, screeched to a halt in the middle of the intersection, blocking traffic, a black Mercedes that cost more than Mia would earn in 5 lifetimes. Horns blared immediately, drivers shouting, but the car didn't move. The driver's door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, dark suit that probably cost more than Mia's last apartment. Expensive watch catching the gray light. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from never having to ask permission for anything, from knowing the world would rearrange itself around him simply because he existed. He walked straight toward them, ignoring the chaos he'd created, his eyes locked on Mia with an intensity that made her breath catch. And then she saw his face. Oh God! 3 years. 3 years since that night. The worst night of her life, when she'd buried her mother and then drowned her grief in the arms of a stranger at a hotel bar. He'd been kind, gentle, present in a way that had made her feel less alone for a few precious hours. And then she'd woken at dawn, panicked by what she'd done, and fled before he could wake up. She'd never known his name, never tried to find him. And 9 months later, she'd given birth to twins who had his eyes, gray-green and intense, too knowing for children so young. Now he was here, staring at her like he was seeing a ghost, and Mia realized with a sinking certainty that her life was about to get infinitely more complicated. "What's going on here?" His voice was deep, commanding, the kind of voice people obeyed without question. Catherine turned, irritation flashing across her face before she masked it with professionalism. "Sir, this is official city business. I'm going to have to ask you to." I asked what's going on. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. The authority in it made Catherine pause. "Child welfare check, sir. These children are living in unsafe conditions. We're placing them in emergency custody while we locate suitable housing for them and their mother." "No, you're not." He said it like a fact, like reality would simply rearrange itself to match his words. Catherine's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me? You're not taking these children anywhere." The man, Ethan, Mia's memory supplied suddenly, the name he'd whispered in the dark, pulled out his phone. "Give me 10 minutes. "Sir, I don't know who you think you are." "Ethan Cole." He said it without arrogance, just stating a fact. "Cole Enterprises. And in 10 minutes, I can have 3 lawyers, a judge, and a housing solution here that will make this entire conversation unnecessary." Mia's vision swam. Ethan Cole. The Ethan Cole. She'd spent one night with one of the richest men in New York and never known it. Never suspected. He'd been so normal that night, so human and broken and real. Catherine was staring at him, recognition and calculation warring on her face. "Mr. Cole, while I appreciate your concern, this isn't something money can simply fix. Everything can be fixed." Ethan's eyes hadn't left Mia's face. "And I'm not offering money. I'm offering a solution." He paused, something shifting in his expression. "Do I know you?" Mia couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Lily and Noah pressed against her legs, confused and terrified, while the man who'd given her these children, the man who'd never known they existed, stared at her with growing recognition. "The hotel," he said slowly. 3 years ago. The woman who," he stopped, his gaze dropping to the twins, really looking at them for the first time. Mia watched the exact moment he understood. Watched his face go pale, watched his eyes widen as he took in Lily's chin, the same as his, and Noah's serious expression that mirrored his own. Watched realization crash over him like a wave. "These are my children," Ethan said, and it wasn't a question. The world tilted sideways. Traffic noise faded. Rain continued falling, soaking all of them, but nobody moved. Catherine looked between them, connecting dots. The police officers shifted uncomfortably, and Mia held her twins and waited for everything to shatter. "Yes," she whispered finally. "They're yours. The secret is out. What do you think Ethan will do now? Drop your predictions in the comments. I can't wait to hear your theories." Ethan Cole had built an empire on control. He controlled boardrooms, controlled markets, controlled his own emotions with the precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel. Nothing surprised him. Nothing rattled him. He'd learned early that vulnerability was a luxury men like him couldn't afford. But standing in the rain, staring at 2 small faces that reflected his own back at him, Ethan felt control slip through his fingers like water. "How old are they?" His voice came out rougher than intended. 3. Mia's answer was barely audible. "They turn 3 next month." The math was simple. Devastating. 3 years ago, he'd been drowning in his own grief. His father had just died, leaving Ethan an empire he'd never wanted and responsibilities that suffocated him. He'd gone to that hotel bar to escape, to feel something other than the crushing weight of expectation. And he'd found her. A woman with sad eyes and gentle hands who'd understood without him having to explain. Who'd let him be human for a few hours before duty called again. He'd woken up alone, and part of him had been grateful. No complications, no expectations, just a memory of temporary comfort. Except she'd left pregnant. And he'd never known. "Why didn't you tell me?" The question came out harsher than he meant. Mia flinched. "I didn't know how to find you. You never gave me your last name. And when I finally figured out who you were, She stopped, pulling her children closer. "I saw your life. Your world. I was a waitress with nothing. What was I supposed to do? Show up at your office with 2 babies and demand support?" "Yes." Ethan's voice rose before he could stop it. Several onlookers jumped. He forced himself to breathe, to think. Yes, that's exactly what you should have done. Mr. Cole, Catherine interrupted, her patience clearly wearing thin. While this is certainly a dramatic development, it doesn't change the immediate situation. These children need a home. Ethan cut her off. They need a home. I'm providing one. It's not that simple. It absolutely is. Ethan pulled his phone out again, dialing with quick, practiced movements. Michael, I need you at the corner of 5th and 42nd. Now, bring the child welfare attorney from the Hutchinson case. He paused. Because I just discovered I'm a father and social services is trying to take my children. That's why. He hung up and focused on Catherine. My attorney will be here in 7 minutes. He'll have temporary custody paperwork filed within the hour. These children are staying with me. With all due respect, Mr. Cole, you can't simply claim children you've never met. They're biologically mine. Ethan's voice was steel. DNA test will prove it. And unlike their mother, I have the resources to provide everything they need. Housing, food, education, medical care, stability. Mia made a small, wounded sound. Ethan's gaze snapped to her, and he saw her face crumbling, saw her arms tightening around children who were looking at him with identical expressions of confusion and fear. His children. The reality kept hitting him in waves. The little girl, Lily, based on what Mia had called her, had his mother's nose. The boy, Noah, held himself with a stillness Ethan recognized from his own childhood photos. They were strangers, but they carried pieces of him in their faces, their gestures, their existence. I'm not trying to take them from you, Ethan said more softly, addressing Mia directly. But I'm not letting the state take them either. So what are you suggesting? Mia's voice shook. That you get custody and I just disappear? That I lose them anyway, just to a different person? No. Ethan hadn't thought this through. He was acting on instinct, on some primal need he didn't understand. You come too. All 3 of you. I have space. You're insane, Mia whispered. Probably. A ghost of dark humor crossed his face. But I have 15 bedrooms and you're homeless. It's practical. Practical. Mia laughed, the sound edged with hysteria. You want me and your secret children to just move into your house because it's practical? I want my children safe, Ethan corrected. And apparently they need you. So yes, that's exactly what I want. Catherine was watching this exchange with growing incredulity. Mr. Cole, even if you could expedite custody arrangements, the court will want proof of paternity, home studies, character references. Which I'll provide. A black town car pulled up behind Ethan's Mercedes. A man in an expensive suit emerged, briefcase in hand, moving with the efficiency of someone used to handling impossible situations. That's Michael Chin, my lead attorney. He'll handle the legal details. I'll handle the rest. Mia shook her head, water streaming down her face. Rain mixed with tears. This is crazy. You can't just. Watch me. Ethan crouched down slowly, making himself less intimidating, until he was eye level with the twins. Up close, the resemblance was even more striking. His eyes stared back at him from 2 small, frightened faces. Hi there. I'm Ethan. Lily pressed closer to Mia. Noah stared at him with unnerving intensity for a 3-year-old. You made Mama cry, Noah said, his voice small but accusatory. The words hit Ethan like a physical blow. I did. I'm sorry. I'm trying to help. Mama says people who try to help usually make things worse. Noah's tone was matter-of-fact, like he was reciting something he'd heard many times. Ethan glanced up at Mia, saw shame color her wet cheeks. How many people had failed her? How many times had she reached for help only to have it yanked away? Your mama's smart, Ethan said, refocusing on Noah. She's right to be careful. But I promise you, I'm not going to make things worse. I'm going to make them better. How? Lily asked, speaking for the first time. Her voice was tiny, musical. By giving you a warm place to sleep tonight. And food. And dry clothes. Ethan kept his voice gentle. Would you like that? Both twins looked at Mia, seeking permission. She stared down at them with an expression of such fierce, protective love that Ethan felt something crack in his chest. She was a good mother. That much was obvious in every gesture, every whispered reassurance, every way she positioned herself between her children and potential threat. She'd been doing this alone for 3 years, working multiple jobs, sacrificing everything, fighting a system designed to swallow people like her whole. And he'd been in his penthouse, building empires, completely unaware. It's okay, babies, Mia said finally. We can go with him. Just for tonight. Ms. Harper, Catherine interjected. I'm not sure that's advisable without proper vetting. Do you have a better option? Mia's voice gained strength, edged with desperation and defiance. You were about to put my children in foster care. At least with him, they're with family. With their father. The word father sent another jolt through Ethan. He was a father. Had been for 3 years without knowing it. 3 years of birthdays missed, milestones unseen, nights when these children had needed him, and he hadn't been there. The paperwork will be filed within the hour, Michael Chin announced, having conferred briefly with Catherine. Temporary custody to Mr. Cole with Ms. Harper maintaining full parental rights, and shared residential custody, pending DNA confirmation and formal custody arrangements. Ms. Rivera, I have Judge Hartman on standby to approve emergency housing orders. Catherine looked between Ethan, Mia, and the twins, clearly struggling with a situation that had spiraled far outside standard protocol. Finally, she nodded. Fine, but I'll be conducting home visits. Weekly. And if I see anything that concerns me. You won't, Ethan said firmly. We'll see. Catherine turned to Mia. Ms. Harper, you have my number. Call me if you need anything. And I mean anything. It was a warning and a lifeline all at once. Mia nodded, not trusting her voice. Catherine and the officers retreated to their car, leaving Ethan standing in the rain with a woman who'd haunted his memory for 3 years and 2 children he hadn't known existed until 10 minutes ago. My car's right there, Ethan said, pointing to the Mercedes still blocking traffic. Let's get you all out of the rain. Mia didn't move. Why are you doing this? Because they're mine. It was the simplest truth he had. Because I don't abandon what's mine. You abandoned me. The words were quiet but cut deep. I didn't know you needed me, Ethan countered. If I had known, you would have what? Swooped in and fixed everything? Thrown money at the problem until it disappeared. Mia's voice was rising again, 3 years of struggle and anger finally finding release. I'm not a problem to be fixed, Ethan. Neither are they. We're people. We've survived without you this long. Barely. Ethan gestured at their soaked clothes, their obvious exhaustion, the defeat that had been written all over Mia's face before he arrived. You were about to lose them. You were drowning and too proud to ask for help. I didn't know where you were. But you do now. Ethan stepped closer, his own frustration breaking through careful control. And I'm here, offering help, offering a solution, and you're fighting me like I'm the enemy. Because you are. Mia's voice cracked. You're rich and powerful and used to getting what you want. How do I know you won't decide to just take them? That you won't use your money and lawyers to push me out because I'm inconvenient. The fear in her eyes was real, visceral. Ethan realized she'd built scenarios in her head, nightmare versions of this moment where she lost everything. I won't, he said quietly. I promise you, Mia. I won't take them from you. But I'm not walking away either. They're my children too, and I'm going to be part of their lives. Starting now. Mia stared at him, searching his face for lies, for tricks, for the catch she was certain existed. Finally, exhausted and out of options, she nodded. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Ethan led them to the car, opening the back door where Noah and Lily climbed in carefully, eyes wide at the leather seats and gleaming interior. Mia slid in after them, gathering them close, and Ethan went around to the driver's side. As he pulled into traffic, causing another round of honking and shouted curses, he glanced in the rearview mirror. Mia sat rigid and alert, arms wrapped around the twins, looking like she might bolt at any moment. The children watched him with identical wariness, unsure if he was rescuer or threat. This was his family. The word felt foreign, impossible. He'd never wanted children, never wanted the vulnerability that came with loving something more than he loved control. But looking at those small faces, feeling the weight of their existence settling into his bones, Ethan realized wanting had nothing to do with it. They existed. They were his. And he'd spend whatever time it took proving he could be what they needed. Even if he had no idea how to be a father, even if Mia might never trust him, even if this was the most complicated situation he'd ever faced. For the first time in 3 years, Ethan Cole wasn't in control. And somehow, that felt exactly right. Ethan's world just got turned upside down, and he's bringing 3 strangers into his life. What could possibly go wrong? Let me know what you think in the comments. Ethan's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of the Cole Tower in Midtown Manhattan. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered views of the city that stretched to the horizon. The interior was all clean lines and expensive minimalism, marble floors, designer furniture, art that cost more than most people's houses. Everything was white or gray or black, pristine and untouched, a monument to wealth and carefully controlled aesthetics. It was also completely, utterly wrong for children. Mia stood in the entrance, dripping rainwater onto marble that probably cost more per square foot than her monthly rent used to be, and felt the gulf between their worlds open like a chasm. Lily and Noah pressed against her legs, overwhelmed and silent. "Mrs. Chun will bring towels," Ethan said, shrugging off his wet jacket. "She's my housekeeper. She lives in the building. I called her on the way up." As if summoned, an elegant Asian woman in her 60s appeared from somewhere deeper in the penthouse, carrying an armful of fluffy white towels. She stopped short when she saw Mia and the children, surprise flashing across her face before professionalism smoothed it away. "Mrs. Chun, this is Mia Harper Ann." Ethan hesitated, the weight of names he'd never spoken before settling on his tongue. "And Lily and Noah. My children. They'll be staying here." Mrs. Chen's eyes widened fractionally, the only sign of her shock, before she recovered with admirable speed. "Of course, Mr. Cole. Welcome." She approached Mia with a warm smile, offering towels. "You must be freezing. Let me show you to the guest rooms." "Guest rooms plural?" Mia asked quietly. "The penthouse has 6 bedrooms," Ethan said. "You and the children can have the entire east wing if you want. Space won't be an issue." Space wouldn't be an issue. Mia wanted to laugh at the absurdity. She'd spent the last month sleeping in subway stations and shelters, where space meant 6 inches of personal bubble, if you were lucky. Now she had an entire wing. "Come, dear." Mrs. Chen's voice was gentle, understanding in a way that made Mia's throat tight. "Let's get you and the little ones dry and warm." She led them down a hallway lined with art Mia recognized from textbooks, originals, not prints, to a bedroom that was larger than Mia's entire last apartment. The bed could have fit 6 people comfortably. An ensuite bathroom featured a tub big enough to swim in. "The children's rooms are connected through that door," Mrs. Chen said, pointing. "But if you'd prefer to keep them close tonight." "Close," Mia said immediately. They need to stay with me." "Of course." Mrs. Chun set the towels on the bed. "I'll find some clothes for you. Mr. Cole keeps spare things for guests. And for the children." She paused, clearly calculating. "I'll see what I can arrange. In the meantime, warm baths for everyone, yes?" She left with quiet efficiency, and Mia sank onto the edge of the bed, pulling Lily and Noah close. "Is this where we live now?" Lily asked, her voice awed and uncertain. "Just for a little while, baby," Mia said, though she had no idea if that was true. "Until Mama figures things out." "I don't like it," Noah announced. "It's too big. And too white. What if we break something?" "We won't touch anything," Mia promised. "We'll be very careful." But even as she said it, she wondered how long that could last. Children weren't meant to exist in museums. They needed space to play, to make noise, to be messy and alive. This place felt like holding your breath, beautiful but suffocating. She got them bathed in the enormous tub, both of them splashing and giggling for the first time in weeks, the warmth and cleanliness such a luxury they'd forgotten what it felt like. Mrs. Chen returned with clothes. A soft cashmere sweater and yoga pants for Mia that fit surprisingly well, and children's pajamas that were clearly brand new, tags still attached. "Mr. Cole sent his driver to the children's store," Mrs. Chen explained. "These were the smallest sizes they had immediately available. More appropriate clothing will be delivered tomorrow." Of course, because Ethan Cole could simply summon an entire wardrobe with a phone call. "Thank you," Mia said, meaning it despite the strangeness of all this. "You've been very kind." "Children are a blessing," Mrs. Chen replied simply. "Mr. Cole has needed some life in this place for a long time." She left them to dress, and Mia helped Lily and Noah into the soft pajamas. Dinosaurs for Noah, stars for Lily. They looked so small and clean and vulnerable that Mia's heart ached. "Are we safe here, Mama?" Noah asked, reading her anxiety the way he always did. "Yes, baby. We're safe. Is that man really our daddy?" The question stopped Mia cold. They'd never asked before. She'd told them their father didn't know about them, which was true enough. But they'd never pushed for details, content with the world being just the 3 of them. "Yes," Mia said carefully. "He is. Why didn't he want us before?" Lily's voice was so small, so full of hurt. "He didn't know about you, sweetheart. I never told him. That was Mama's choice, not his. But now he knows," Noah said, working through it. "So now he wants us?" "I think so. He's trying to help." "Will he make you cry again?" Noah's eyes were fierce, protective. "Because if he does, I'll tell him to stop." Mia pulled them both close, breathing in the clean scent of soap and childhood. You don't have to protect me, babies. That's my job, protecting you. We can protect each other, Lily said matter-of-factly. Like a team. Like a team, Mia agreed, throat tight. A knock on the door interrupted them. Ethan stood in the hallway, changed into dry clothes, jeans and a t-shirt that made him look younger, more like the man from 3 years ago. Dinner's ready, he said. I ordered everything. I didn't know what they'd eat. He looked nervous. The great Ethan Cole, billionaire CEO, was nervous about feeding 2 3-year-olds. They're not picky, Mia said. They'll eat whatever's there. Because they'd learned not to be picky. Because beggars couldn't be choosers, and they'd been beggars for too long. The dining room table was ridiculous. 12 feet of polished wood set with enough food for 20 people. Pizza, chicken nuggets, pasta, vegetables, fruit, sandwiches, every possible option arranged like a buffet. I might have overdone it, Ethan admitted. Might have, Mia agreed, but she was already helping the twins into chairs, watching their eyes go wide at the abundance. They ate in awkward silence, Lily and Noah working through their food with the intensity of children who'd known hunger too well. Ethan watched them with an expression Mia couldn't read. Wonder and grief and something that looked like longing. They look like you, Mia said finally. Everyone's going to know immediately. Good. Ethan's response was firm. I'm not hiding them. Your board of directors might feel differently. Surprised children from a one-night stand don't exactly scream stability. I don't care what the board thinks. You will when it affects your company. Ethan met her eyes across the table. Mia, I've spent 3 years building an empire I inherited. It's successful. It's profitable. It's also completely meaningless. These, he gestured to the twins. They matter. Everything else is just business. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they terrified her. Because men who decided things mattered had power over those things. And Mia had no power at all. After dinner, as Mia was getting the twins settled in the massive bed, Ethan appeared in the doorway again. Can we talk? He asked. After they're asleep? Mia nodded, tucking the blankets around Lily and Noah, who were already drifting off, full bellies and warm beds proving more powerful than fear. She found Ethan in the living room, standing at the windows, staring out at the city lights. Without the children as buffer, the space between them felt charged, dangerous. Why didn't you look for me? Ethan asked without turning. 3 years, Mia. You could have hired an investigator, checked social media, done something. I was pregnant and working 2 jobs, Mia said. I barely had money for prenatal vitamins, much less private investigators. And when I finally saw your face in a business magazine and realized who you were, she stopped, remembering the shock, the disbelief. What was I supposed to do? You're Ethan Cole, billionaire, CEO, and I was a pregnant waitress who'd had a one-night stand. Your lawyers would have eaten me alive. You don't know that. Don't I? Mia moved closer. Be honest. If some random woman had shown up claiming to be pregnant with your children, what would your first instinct have been? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. Paternity test. Lawyer. Suspicion about motives. Exactly. Mia's voice was bitter. So I kept them to myself. I raised them alone. And we were managing barely, but we were managing until everything fell apart, Ethan finished. Until everything fell apart, Mia echoed. Ethan turned to face her finally. I meant what I said earlier. I'm not taking them from you. But Mia, I can't pretend they don't exist now that I know. I can't just set you up in an apartment and visit twice a month. I want to be their father. You are their father. DNA proves that. But being a father and being a dad are different things. Then teach me. The vulnerability in his voice surprised her. I don't know how to do this. My own father he wasn't a good example. All business, no emotion. I swore I'd never have children because I didn't want to repeat his mistakes. But here we are, Mia said softly. Here we are. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. Stay. Not just tonight. Stay as long as you need. Let me get to know them. Let them get to know me. And we'll figure out what comes next together. And what about us? The question escaped before Mia could stop it. What about what happened 3 years ago? Ethan's eyes locked on hers, and Mia saw heat there, recognition, memory. What about it? Do we pretend it didn't happen? That it was just, what did you call it? No complications. I never said that. Ethan stepped closer, close enough that Mia could feel the warmth radiating from his body. I said I was grateful you left because it meant no complications. But Mia, you've haunted me for 3 years. I've looked for your face in every crowd, remembered your voice, wondered why you ran. I was scared, Mia whispered. I woke up and realized I'd slept with a stranger while grieving my mother, and I panicked. And now I'm still scared, but for different reasons. Before Ethan could respond, Mia's phone, the cheap pay-as-you-go she'd been using, rang. She didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. Ms. Harper? This is Dr. Patricia Foster from Mercy General Hospital. Mia's blood went cold. Yes, I'm calling about your recent medical workup from the Shelter Health Clinic. We've received some test results that need immediate follow-up. Can you come in tomorrow morning? What kind of results? Mia's voice shook. I'd prefer to discuss this in person. But Ms. Harper. The doctor's voice was gentle, professional, carrying weight. It's important. Please don't delay. The call ended, and Mia stood frozen, phone clutched in her hand. What's wrong? Ethan asked immediately. I don't know. Mia looked up at him, fear crystallizing in her chest. The doctor wants to see me. About test results. She said it's important. Ethan's expression shifted immediately, worry replacing everything else. I'll take you. Tomorrow morning. We'll go together. You don't have to. Mia. Ethan caught her hand, his grip warm and solid. Whatever this is, you're not facing it alone. Not anymore. And despite everything, the strangeness, the fear, the complicated mess they'd stumbled into, Mia found herself believing him. What's wrong with Mia? What will the doctor say? This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Make sure you're subscribed and drop your theories in the comments. Mia didn't sleep that night. She lay in the enormous bed with Lily curled against her left side and Noah pressed against her right, listening to their steady breathing and trying not to let fear consume her. The doctor's call played on repeat in her mind, important, don't delay, and every possibility her imagination conjured was worse than the last. She'd been so focused on keeping the twins fed and safe that she'd ignored her own body's warnings. The exhaustion that went beyond tiredness. The dizziness that came at random moments. The way her hands sometimes trembled for no reason. She'd told herself it was stress. Malnutrition. The normal consequences of living on the edge of survival. But what if it was more? At 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and slipped out of bed carefully, not wanting to wake the children. The penthouse was silent, lit only by the city lights filtering through floor-to-ceiling windows. Mia walked to the kitchen, thinking coffee might calm her racing thoughts. She found Ethan already there. He sat at the kitchen island in the dark, laptop open, working despite the hour. He looked up when she entered, and she saw the same exhaustion in his eyes that she felt in her bones. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Not really. Mia moved to the coffee maker, one of those expensive machines with buttons she didn't understand. How do I? Here. Ethan stood, coming around the island to help. His presence beside her was overwhelming. Too close, too familiar, too complicated. This one's espresso. This one's regular brew. What do you want? Something strong, Mia admitted. Ethan pressed buttons with practiced ease, and within moments, the machine was producing coffee that smelled like heaven. He poured 2 cups, adding cream to hers without asking, somehow remembering from 3 years ago how she took it. The detail made her chest tight. They sat at the island in silence, drinking coffee at 3 a.m. like this was normal, like they hadn't been strangers reunited by accident and children neither of them had planned. What are you working on? Mia asked finally. Damage control. Ethan gestured to the laptop. Word's already out that I left a board meeting yesterday without explanation, blocked traffic in Midtown, and left with a homeless woman and 2 children. My PR team is having a collective breakdown. I'm sorry, Mia said quietly. I didn't mean to ruin your life. You didn't ruin anything. Ethan's voice was firm. You gave me something I didn't know I needed. Everything else is just noise. Your company will survive. Cole Enterprises existed before me and will exist after me. But Lily and Noah? They're mine. Nothing is more important than that. The conviction in his voice should have been reassuring. Instead, it terrified Mia. Because men who decided things were important had the power to keep them. And what happened when Ethan decided she was the obstacle between him and his children? You're doing it again, Ethan said, watching her face. Building worst-case scenarios in your head. Can you blame me? Mia set down her coffee cup. 3 days ago, I was homeless. Today I'm living in a penthouse with a billionaire who just discovered he's a father. Tomorrow I'm going to a doctor who has urgent news about test results I didn't know I'd taken. My entire life is a worst-case scenario. Not anymore. Ethan reached across the space between them, his hand covering hers on the counter. Whatever the doctor says tomorrow, we'll handle it. Together. Why? The question burst out of Mia before she could stop it. Why do you care? You didn't even know I existed yesterday morning. Because those children upstairs are half you. Ethan's gray-green eyes were intense in the dim light. And 3 years ago, you were the only person who saw me as human instead of a corporate machine. You gave me a few hours of peace when I was drowning. I can't, he stopped, struggling with words. I can't just watch you drown now. Mia pulled her hand away, needing distance. That night was a mistake. We were both grieving, both vulnerable. It didn't mean anything. Are you trying to convince me or yourself? Before Mia could answer, a small voice interrupted from the hallway. Mama! Lily stood in the doorway, clutching the stuffed rabbit Ethan's driver had brought back with the pajamas. She looked so small in the oversized penthouse, so lost. What's wrong, baby? Mia was on her feet immediately, scooping Lily up. Bad dream. I woke up and you were gone. Lily's voice trembled. I thought they took you. No, sweetheart. I'm right here. No one took me. Mia held her daughter close, breathing in her scent, feeling the rapid beat of her small heart. Mama just couldn't sleep. Lily's gaze shifted to Ethan, wary but curious. Why are you awake? Same reason as your mama, Ethan said gently. Too much thinking, not enough sleeping. What are you thinking about? You and your brother. Ethan's honesty was disarming. Trying to figure out how to be a good dad. Lily considered this with the seriousness only a 3-year-old could manage. Noah says you made Mama cry. That's not good. You're absolutely right. That's not good at all. Ethan held Lily's gaze with the same respect he'd give an adult. I'm going to try very hard not to make your mama cry again. But I might make mistakes. I'm new at this. That's okay, Lily said magnanimously. We're all new at being a family. The wisdom of it struck both adults silent. Out of the mouths of babes. Are you hungry, sweetheart? Mia asked, needing to move past the moment. Want some more milk? Lily nodded, and Mia set about preparing it, hyper-aware of Ethan watching them, learning them, memorizing details of his daughter's preferences and patterns. By the time Lily had finished her milk and drifted back to sleep in Mia's arms, dawn was breaking over the city. Mia carried her daughter back to bed, tucking her beside Noah, who hadn't stirred once through the night. She found Ethan still in the kitchen when she returned, now making breakfast, or attempting to. He had eggs out, a pan heating, and the air of someone who rarely cooked for himself. You don't have to, Mia started. I want to. Ethan cracked an egg with less grace than confidence. Besides, Mrs. Chin doesn't arrive until 7. The kids will be up soon. They should have breakfast. They eat cereal. Or toast. You don't have to make a production of it. Maybe I want to. Ethan's voice was quiet. Maybe I want to learn what normal looks like. What being a father is supposed to look like. Mia moved to the stove, taking over before he could burn something. Normal is chaos. It's spilled milk and arguments over vegetables and never enough sleep. It's not glamorous. Show me anyway. So she did. They made breakfast together in the growing light. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit cut into pieces small enough for tiny hands. Ethan followed her lead, asking questions, absorbing information like he was studying for the most important test of his life. When Lily and Noah emerged, sleepy and confused about where they were, Ethan had the table set and breakfast ready. The look on his face when Noah climbed into a chair without prompting, when Lily said thank you for her juice, it was pure wonder. We need to talk about today, Ethan said after the twins had eaten and Mrs. Chun had arrived to watch them. The doctor's appointment. What time? 10. Mia's anxiety came rushing back. But you don't have to come. You probably have work. I cleared my entire day. Ethan's tone left no room for argument. I'm coming. They drove to Mercy General in Ethan's Mercedes, leaving the twins with Mrs. Chun, who'd promised stories and cartoons and all the patience in the world. Mia watched the city pass by the window and tried to prepare herself for whatever was coming. Dr. Patricia Foster was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led them to her office. Ethan had insisted on coming into the consultation, and Mia was too scared to refuse the support, and pulled up files on her computer. Ms. Harper, thank you for coming in. Dr. Foster's gaze flicked to Ethan with curiosity, but didn't comment on his presence. I'll get straight to the point. Your blood work from the shelter clinic screening came back with some concerning results. Your red blood cell count is dangerously low, your iron levels are critical, and there are markers that suggest possible. She paused, choosing words carefully. Possible malnutrition-related organ stress. Mia felt the room tilt. Ethan's hand found hers under the desk, gripping tight. How bad? Mia's voice came out as a whisper. Treatable, but serious. You've been essentially starving yourself for an extended period. Your body has been cannibalizing its own resources to keep functioning. Dr. Foster's expression was sympathetic but direct. If you'd continued in those conditions for another few months, we'd be looking at organ failure. Possibly fatal. The word fatal hung in the air like a bomb. But she's here now, Ethan said, his voice steady despite the vice grip on Mia's hand. What does she need? What's the treatment plan? Immediate nutritional supplementation. IV therapy for the next week to restore critical vitamin levels. Close monitoring. Rest, real rest, not survival mode. Dr. Foster looked at Mia. Ms. Harper, you've been running on empty for so long your body forgot what full feels like. We need to teach it again. The twins, Mia said immediately. I can't be in the hospital. They need me. You're not going inpatient, Dr. Foster assured her. We can do outpatient IV therapy. 3 hours a day for the next week. Then we reassess. But Ms. Harper, her voice turned stern. This is non-negotiable. If you don't do this, you won't be around to raise those children. The bluntness of it stole Mia's breath. She'll do it, Ethan said. Whatever she needs, however long it takes. I'll make sure of it. And you are? Dr. Foster asked, finally acknowledging the elephant in the room. Ethan Cole, the father of her children. Her. He hesitated, searching for the right word. Her partner. The word sent electricity through Mia, but she didn't correct him. Couldn't correct him, because in this moment, she needed him to be exactly what he was claiming to be. Then I'm glad she has support, Dr. Foster said. Because recovery isn't just physical. It's mental and emotional too. Ms. Harper has been in survival mode for years. Learning to live again, to trust that basic needs will be met, that's going to take time. They left the hospital an hour later with prescriptions, appointment cards, and a reality that had shifted underneath them. Mia had been dying. Slowly, quietly, sacrificing herself piece by piece to keep her children alive. In the car, Ethan didn't start the engine. He just sat, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing like he'd run a marathon. Ethan, you were dying. His voice was raw. If I hadn't shown up yesterday, if social services had taken the twins, if you'd kept going alone, he couldn't finish. But you did show up, Mia said softly. And I'm going to be okay. Are you? Ethan turned to face her, and Mia saw something in his eyes she hadn't expected, fear. Raw, unfiltered fear. Because I just found you. Found them. And I can't, his voice broke. I can't lose any of you. Mia reached across the center console, touching his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. You won't. I promise. I'm going to get better. We're going to make sure of it, Ethan said fiercely. No more running on empty. No more sacrificing yourself. You take care of you, and I'll take care of everything else. That's not how partnership works. Then teach me. Ethan echoed his words from breakfast, but this time they carried different weight. Teach me how to do this right. Because Mia, I'm all in. Not just for the twins. For all of you. For us. The confession hung between them, huge and terrifying and impossible to take back. Before Mia could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number again. She answered hesitantly. Ms. Harper? This is Lance Morrison from Morrison & Associates law firm. I represent Diane Harper, your late mother's sister. We need to discuss a matter regarding her estate and your custody of the twins. Mia's blood went cold. What about custody? Mrs. Harper is filing for emergency custody of Lily and Noah. She claims you're an unfit mother, and the children would be better served in her care. Papers will be served by end of day. I suggest you retain counsel immediately. The line went dead. Mia stared at the phone, unable to process. Her aunt, her mother's sister who'd refused to help when Mia was pregnant, who'd called her a disgrace and cut her off completely, was trying to take her children. What's wrong? Ethan asked immediately. My aunt. Mia's voice was hollow. She's suing for custody. She says I'm unfit. Like hell she is. Ethan's expression went from worried to lethal in a heartbeat. Call Michael Chin. Now. We're fighting this. Ethan, she's right. I am unfit. I was homeless. I almost died. What judge is going to choose me over a wealthy, stable relative? One who sees that you love those children more than life itself. Ethan caught her face between his hands, forcing her to look at him. You're not alone anymore, Mia. You're not fighting this alone. We have resources. We have lawyers. And we have the truth, that you sacrificed everything for your children, and that makes you the best mother they could possibly have. But what if it's not enough? Mia whispered, tears spilling over. What if I lose them anyway? Then we'll fight harder. Ethan's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. Those children are ours, and no one is taking them away. The custody papers arrived at 4 p.m., delivered by a process server who looked apologetic as he handed them over. Mia sat in Ethan's home office, their temporary war room, reading words that turned her blood to ice. Unfit mother. Neglectful. Homeless. Unable to provide basic necessities. Each accusation was technically true and completely devastating. This is character assassination, Michaelchen said, scanning his own copy with a lawyer's clinical eye. He'd arrived within 20 minutes of Ethan's call, along with 2 associates and enough legal firepower to intimidate a small country. Your aunt is painting the worst possible picture. It's not a picture, Mia said hollowly. It's the truth. I was homeless. I couldn't provide for them. Because the system failed you, Ethan countered from where he stood at the window. Not because you failed them. The court won't see it that way. Then we make them see it that way. Michael leaned forward, his expression serious but not unkind. Ms. Harper, I need you to tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Your mother's death, the pregnancy, every job you worked, every shelter you stayed in, every attempt you made to get help. I need the whole story. So Mia told it. She told them about her mother dying of cancer, leaving her with nothing but medical debt. About discovering she was pregnant weeks later, alone and terrified. About working double shifts while her belly grew, saving every penny for the twins' arrival. She told them about the first year, exhausting but manageable, living in a tiny apartment, working nights while a neighbor watched the babies. About losing that job when the diner closed, losing the apartment when she couldn't make rent, spiraling down through cheaper and cheaper housing until there was nowhere left to fall. She told them about the shelters with waiting lists, the assistance programs with 6-month delays, the jobs that required full-time availability, but paid less than childcare cost. About choosing between feeding her children and feeding herself, about going days without eating so Lily and Noah could have full bellies. I applied for everything, Mia said, her voice cracking. Food stamps, housing assistance, childcare vouchers. But there were forms and appointments and verification requirements, and I was working 3 part-time jobs trying to keep us fed. I kept missing deadlines, losing paperwork. It was like drowning in bureaucracy while my children watched. Did you ever ask your aunt for help? Michael asked gently. Mia's laugh was bitter. Once. When I was 6 months pregnant. She told me I'd made my bed and needed to lie in it. That my mother would be ashamed of me for. She stopped, the memory still sharp. For getting pregnant by some random man at a hotel bar. She refused direct assistance but now wants custody, Michael noted. That's going to work in our favor. We'll paint her as opportunistic, wanting the children now that there's a wealthy father in the picture. Is that true? Ethan asked Mia. Does your aunt know about me? The whole city knows about you by now. Michael pulled up his tablet, showing news articles from the last 24 hours. Billionaire CEO discovers secret children. Ethan Cole's hidden family. The stories everywhere. Mia felt sick looking at the headlines, at photos taken yesterday of them getting into Ethan's car. Her looking bedraggled and desperate, the twins wide-eyed and confused. Your aunt saw dollar signs, Michael said bluntly. She sees wealthy father, potential settlements, maybe even ongoing financial support if she gains custody. This isn't about the children's welfare. It's about money. Can we prove that? Ethan asked. We can certainly suggest it. But Ms. Harper, Michael turned back to Mia. I need to be honest. Your aunt has advantages. Stable home, married, no history of homelessness. The judge will see that as safety and security. And I'm what? The cautionary tale. You're the mother who sacrificed everything, Michael corrected. We highlight your devotion. Every choice you made prioritizing the children. The fact that you're here now, getting medical treatment, accepting help, that shows growth and responsibility. What about me? Ethan interjected. I'm their father. I have resources. Doesn't that count for something? It counts for a lot, Michael agreed. But the court will question why you weren't involved before now. We need to establish that you had no knowledge of the children's existence, and that once you learned, you immediately stepped up. Because I did. I know. But we need to prove it. Character witnesses. Documentation. A clear plan for the children's future that includes both parents actively involved. We can do that, Ethan said firmly. Whatever it takes. Michael looked between them. There's something else the court will consider. Your relationship. Are you together? Co-parenting separately? The stability of the home environment matters. Mia started, then stopped, unsure how to finish. What were they? Strangers reunited by accident? Co-parents figuring it out? Something more complicated? Together, Ethan said, the word decisive. We're together. Mia's head snapped toward him. Ethan, the children need stability, Ethan continued, his eyes locked on hers. A united front. Two parents committed to their welfare. That's what we're giving them. You can't just declare we're together because it's legally convenient. I'm not. Ethan crossed the room, crouching beside her chair so they were eye level. I'm saying what's true. We're in this together. Whatever label that has whatever it becomes, we're together. Agreed. Mia stared at him, seeing determination and something deeper, something that made her chest tight. Agreed, she whispered. Michael cleared his throat diplomatically. Right. So we present a united family unit. Two biological parents, committed relationship, stable home environment. Mr. Cole's resources provide security. Ms. Harper's devotion provides love. Together, you offer something your aunt cannot, a complete family. When's the hearing? Mia asked. Expedited emergency custody cases usually get scheduled within 2 weeks. I'll file our response tomorrow, along with a motion to dismiss based on frivolous claims. We'll also request a home study. Let them see the environment you're providing now. 2 weeks, Mia repeated numbly. How do I survive 2 weeks knowing someone's trying to take my children? You focus on getting better, Ethan said firmly. You start your IV therapy tomorrow. You rest. You spend time with Lily and Noah. You let us handle the legal battle. I can't just. Yes, you can. Ethan caught her hands. You've been fighting alone for 3 years. Let someone else carry the weight for once. After Michael and his team left, Mia found herself alone with Ethan in the office. The twins were in the living room with Mrs. Chun, their laughter drifting down the hallway, innocent and unaware of the storm gathering around them. You didn't have to say we're together, Mia said quietly. I know you're just trying to help. I meant it. Ethan's voice was serious. Maybe not in the traditional sense, we barely know each other. But Mia, we're building something here. A family. Whether that includes romance or just partnership, we're in it together. And if I can't give you romance? Mia asked. If I'm too broken, too damaged by everything that's happened, then we build partnership. Ethan shrugged. I'm not looking for a fairy tale. I'm looking for real. And real is messy and complicated, and sometimes romance comes later. Or maybe it doesn't come at all. Either way, we're still family. The acceptance in his words cracked something in Mia's chest. I don't know how to do this. How to trust someone else with the most important things in my life. Then learn with me. Ethan pulled her to her feet, his hands warm and steady on her arms. We'll figure it out together. One day at a time. Before Mia could respond, Noah appeared in the doorway, Lily right behind him. Mama, Mrs. Chun says we can have ice cream, but only if you say it's okay. Ice cream sounds perfect, Mia said, grateful for the interruption. They spent the evening like a real family. Ice cream and cartoons and bath time, the twins slowly relaxing into this strange new normal. When Mia tucked them into bed, Lily grabbed her hand. Are we really staying here, Mama? Yes, baby. We're staying. Forever. Mia glanced at Ethan, who stood in the doorway watching them. For as long as we need to. Good. Lily yawned, already drifting off. I like it here. And I think I like having a daddy. After the twins were asleep, Mia collapsed on the living room couch, exhaustion hitting her like a physical weight. Ethan sat beside her, close but not touching. How are you really? He asked. Terrified, Mia admitted. What if the court sides with my aunt? What if they decide I'm unfit and take them away? Then we appeal. And we keep fighting until we win. You can't guarantee that. No, Ethan agreed. But I can guarantee I won't give up. Ever. Those children are mine. He paused. You matter. All of you matter. And I protect what's mine. The possessiveness should have worried her. Instead, it felt like safety. I start IV therapy tomorrow, Mia said. 3 hours a day. I'll take you. You don't have to. Mia. Ethan turned to face her fully. Stop saying I don't have to. I want to. I choose to. Get used to having someone who shows up. Tears pricked her eyes. I don't know if I can. Then I'll keep showing up until you believe it. Ethan brushed a strand of hair from her face, the gesture achingly gentle. However long it takes. They sat in comfortable silence as the city lights glowed beyond the windows. Somewhere out there, Mia's aunt was building a case to destroy her. Lawyers were crafting arguments. A judge was preparing to decide her children's fate. But here, in this moment, Mia had warm clothes and a full stomach and 2 children sleeping safely down the hall. She had a man who'd stepped into chaos without hesitation and declared himself all in. It wasn't forever. It might not even last the month. But for now, it was enough. Thank you, Mia whispered. For everything. Thank me when we win, Ethan replied. When this is over and Lily and Noah are legally, permanently ours. Ours. That word again, settling into Mia's heart like an anchor. Maybe they would win. Maybe partnership could become something more. Maybe damaged people could build something beautiful from the wreckage of their pasts. Or maybe Mia was just too tired to be realistic anymore. Either way, tomorrow she'd start fighting back. Tonight, she'd let herself rest. The IV therapy clinic was nothing like Mia expected. Instead of sterile hospital white, the walls were painted calming blues and greens. Recliners lined the windows, each with its own privacy curtain and small table. Other patients sat reading, watching tablets, or sleeping while clear bags dripped nutrients into their veins. Mia felt Ethan's hand at the small of her back as the nurse led them to a recliner in the corner. He'd been true to his word, clearing his entire morning, driving her here himself, staying even when she'd insisted he didn't need to. First time, the nurse asked kindly as she prepped Mia's arm. Yes. Mia watched the needle slide in, felt the cool sensation of fluids entering her bloodstream. How long does it take to feel better? Everyone's different. But with your levels, you'll probably notice a difference within a few days. Real energy, not survival mode energy. The nurse patted her arm. Your body's been running on fumes. This is premium fuel. After the nurse left, Ethan settled into the chair beside Mia's recliner, pulling out his laptop. I've got work to do anyway. Michael's sending over character references for the custody case. From who? Everyone. Ethan's smile was grim. My board of directors, business partners, the CEO of the children's hospital I fund. People who can testify to my character and resources. What about my character? Mia asked quietly. I don't have CEOs to vouch for me. You have Mrs. Chun, who says you're the most devoted mother she's seen in 40 years of service. You have your former landlord, who remembers you paying rent on time for 2 years straight. You have the shelter director who says you always put your children first. Ethan glanced up. Michael's been busy. Mia blinked back tears. I didn't know anyone noticed. People always notice. They just don't always help. Ethan's voice held old anger. But they'll testify now. Because what happened to you was wrong. The system failed you, and we're making sure the judge knows it. They sat in comfortable silence, Ethan working while Mia watched the 4 bags slowly empty. Other patients came and went, an elderly man with cancer, a young woman with an eating disorder, a teenage boy recovering from surgery. All of them fighting their own battles with bodies that had failed them or been failed by circumstance. Mia wasn't alone in this. The realization settled something in her chest. Can I ask you something? She said suddenly. Ethan looked up. Anything. Why are you really doing this? And don't say because they're yours. There's more to it. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, his fingers stilling on the keyboard. My father was a terrible parent, he said finally. Emotionally absent. Controlling. He saw me as an extension of his business empire, not a person. When he died, I swore I'd never have children because I was terrified of becoming him. But you're nothing like that, Mia said. I've watched you with Lily and Noah. You're gentle. Present. Because I'm choosing to be different. Ethan met her eyes. But Mia, I didn't get that choice at first. You made it for me when you decided not to tell me about them. And I understand why. You didn't know me, didn't trust me, had every reason to protect yourself. But it means I missed 3 years. 3 years of birthdays and first words and learning who they are. I'm sorry, Mia whispered. I'm so sorry. Don't be. You did what you thought was right. But now I get to choose. And I choose to be their father. To be present. To prove that cycles can be broken and people can be better than their parents were. What if you fail? Mia asked. What if it's harder than you think? Then I'll fail and try again. Ethan's voice was firm. That's what parenting is, right? Trying, failing, getting up, trying again. At least that's what I've learned watching you. The words hit Mia harder than she expected. You've been watching me parent? Every chance I get. Ethan's smile was soft. The way you explain things to them. How you make everything an adventure even when it's just brushing teeth. The patience you have even when you're exhausted. You're an amazing mother, Mia. And I'm trying to learn from you. Mia looked away, overwhelmed. I just do what needs doing. That's what makes you amazing. Ethan reached over, catching her hand. You do what needs doing even when it costs you everything. They were interrupted by Mia's phone ringing. Catherine Rivera, the social worker. Ms. Harper, this is a courtesy call. I'll be conducting the home visit tomorrow at 2 p.m. Is that acceptable? Mia's heart jumped. Tomorrow? The court wants an updated assessment given the change in circumstances. I'll be evaluating the living environment, speaking with the children, observing family dynamics. Standard protocol. Of course, Mia said, trying to keep her voice steady. We'll be ready. After she hung up, Ethan was already texting someone. Mrs. Chun will make sure the penthouse is perfect. Michael will prep us on what to expect. We've got this. What if she sees through us? Mia asked. What if she realizes we're not really a couple, just two people pretending for the courts? Are we pretending? Ethan asked quietly. The question hung between them. Mia thought about the last few days. Ethan bringing her coffee at 3 a.m., sitting beside her during IV therapy, the way he'd learned to braid Lily's hair after watching a YouTube tutorial. The way he looked at her sometimes, like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. I don't know what we are, Mia admitted. Then let's figure it out. Ethan squeezed her hand. One day at a time. No pressure, no expectations. Just being. Just being, Mia echoed. I don't remember how to do that. Neither do I. Ethan's smile was rueful. I've spent 10 years being a CEO. Being a father, being a partner. That's all new territory. They spent the rest of the therapy session talking. Real talking, not the surface stuff. Ethan told her about his childhood, about boarding schools and nannies, and a father who showed love through stock portfolios. Mia told him about growing up with a single mother who worked herself to death, about the scholarship that fell through when her mom got sick, about dreams of college and stability that evaporated like smoke. By the time the four finished, Mia felt lighter. Not just from the nutrients flooding her system, but from the conversation. From being seen and heard by someone who actually listened. They picked up the twins from Mrs. Chun, who reported they'd been perfect angels. If perfect angels spent 2 hours building block towers and then destroying them with dinosaur attacks. That night, after dinner and bath time and stories, Mia found Ethan in the kitchen making tea. She poured herself a cup and leaned against the counter beside him. Thank you for today, she said. For staying. For listening. Thank you for letting me, Ethan replied. I know trust doesn't come easy for you. It doesn't, Mia agreed. But you're making it easier. Ethan turned to face her, and suddenly they were close. Close enough that Mia could feel his warmth, see the flecks of gold in his gray-green eyes. Close enough that her breath caught. Mia, he said softly. I know this started as survival. As necessity. But I need you to know, this is real for me. You're real for me. Whatever happens with the custody case, whatever we become, I'm not going anywhere. Promise. The word came out smaller than Mia intended. Promise. Ethan raised his hand, pinky extended. Pinky promise, even. I've learned those are sacred. Mia laughed, hooking her pinky with his. Lily taught you well. She's an excellent teacher. Ethan didn't let go of her hand. I have good teachers all around, actually. They stood there in the kitchen, hands linked, something shifting between them. Not quite romance, not quite partnership, something in between, something growing. The next day, Catherine Rivera arrived exactly at 2 p.m. She spent 3 hours with them, touring the penthouse, watching Ethan and Mia interact with the twins, asking careful questions. The children were nervous at first, but warmed up when Catherine asked to see their room, which now actually looked like a children's room, with toys and books and drawings taped to the walls. This is my daddy, Lily announced proudly, showing Catherine a stick figure drawing. He's very tall. I see that, Catherine said with a small smile. Do you like living here? Yes, Noah chimed in. We have our own bathroom and Mama doesn't cry anymore and Daddy makes funny pancakes. Funny pancakes? He can't flip them right, Lily giggled. They're all wonky. But they taste good. Catherine took notes, her expression unreadable. After the twins went back to playing, she sat down with Ethan and Mia. "I'll be honest," she said. "When I saw you on that street corner last week, I thought this was a clear-cut case. Children in danger, mother unable to cope. But seeing you now," she paused. "This is different. Because of the money?" Mia asked quietly. "Because of the stability," Catherine corrected. "Money helps, absolutely. But I've seen wealthy families that are disasters. What matters is whether the children are safe, loved, and thriving. And from what I can see, they are. So you'll recommend against my aunt's petition?" Mia asked hopefully. "I'll recommend what I believe is in the children's best interest," Catherine said carefully. "Your aunt has legitimate concerns about your previous circumstances. But you're in a very different situation now. My report will reflect that." It wasn't a guarantee, but it was something. After Catherine left, Mia sank onto the couch, emotionally exhausted. Ethan sat beside her, and without thinking, she leaned her head on his shoulder. "We did okay," she murmured. "We did great," Ethan corrected. "The kids were perfect. You were perfect. I was terrified the whole time. Couldn't tell." Ethan's arm came around her shoulders, warm and solid. "You're stronger than you think, Mia Harper." Mia closed her eyes, letting herself have this moment of comfort. Outside, the custody battle raged on. Her aunt was building her case, lawyers were preparing arguments, and in less than 2 weeks a judge would decide her children's fate. But right now, in this moment, they were safe. They were together. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. 1 week before the custody hearing, Mia woke to find Lily burning with fever. "Mama," Lily whimpered, her small body radiating heat. "My throat hurts." Mia pressed her hand to Lily's forehead, dangerously hot. Beside her, Noah stirred, reaching for his sister with concern that broke Mia's heart. "It's okay, baby. Mama's going to take care of you." She scooped Lily up, the weight of her too light in Mia's arms. 3 years of constant vigilance kicked in. Check temperature, assess symptoms, decide if this needed emergency care. She found Ethan already in the kitchen, making coffee. He took one look at Lily and set down his mug. "How high?" he asked immediately. "I don't know. I need a thermometer." "Medicine cabinet, master bathroom." Ethan was already moving. "I'll get it. You sit with her." Minutes later, the thermometer read 103.2. High enough to worry, not quite high enough for the ER. Mia had learned these calculations through 3 years of tight budgets and impossible choices. When to wait it out, when to spend money they didn't have on urgent care. "We should take her to the doctor," Ethan said. "It's probably just a virus. Kids spike fevers. I can manage it here." "Mia." Ethan's voice was gentle but firm. "We don't have to manage anymore. We can just take her to the doctor." The simple truth of it hit Mia like a wave. He was right. They didn't have to weigh cost against necessity. They could just get help. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Dr. Sarah Kim, a pediatrician Ethan's assistant had found, saw them within 2 hours. Her office was warm and cheerful, decorated with cartoon animals and bright colors that made Lily smile despite feeling awful. "Strep throat," Dr. Kim announced after a quick test. "Highly contagious. We'll start antibiotics immediately. She should be feeling better within 24 hours. "What about Noah?" Mia asked, glancing at her son who sat quietly in a chair, watching everything. "We should test him too. Siblings usually share these things." Noah's test came back positive, though he wasn't showing symptoms yet. Dr. Kim prescribed antibiotics for both twins and gave Mia detailed instructions that she absorbed like gospel: dosage, timing, warning signs to watch for. In the car on the way home, Lily fell asleep in her car seat. Noah held Mia's hand and asked the question she'd been dreading. "Is Lily going to be okay, Mama?" "Yes, baby. The medicine will make her better." "You promise?" Noah's eyes were too serious for 3 years old, carrying worry that children shouldn't have to carry. "I promise." Mia squeezed his hand. "Daddy and I are going to make sure both of you are okay." "Daddy." The word felt natural now, not forced. Noah nodded, accepting it, trusting in a way that simultaneously warmed and terrified Mia. The next 3 days were exhausting. Lily's fever spiked and dropped, making her clingy and miserable. Noah developed symptoms on day 2, fever and sore throat that had him refusing food. Mia barely slept, taking shifts with Ethan to monitor temperatures, dispense medicine, provide comfort. She found Ethan at 2 a.m. on the second night, holding Noah in the living room recliner. Her son was draped across Ethan's chest, breathing steadily, fever broken for the moment. Ethan's hand rubbed slow circles on Noah's back, his expression soft with something Mia recognized: the fierce protectiveness of parenthood. He couldn't sleep, Ethan said quietly when he noticed Mia. I told him we'd watch the city lights together until he felt better. Mia sat on the arm of the recliner, looking down at her son and this man who'd become so much more than a stranger. You're good at this, she said. Being a father. I'm terrified I'm doing everything wrong, Ethan admitted. Every time they cry, every time they're sick, I think, what if I can't fix it? What if I fail them? That's how you know you're doing it right. Mia touched his shoulder. Bad parents don't worry about failing. They just fail. Comforting, Ethan said with dark humor. Parenting isn't comfortable. It's terrifying and exhausting, and sometimes you don't sleep for 3 days because your kids are sick and you're trying to monitor fevers while also preparing for a custody hearing that could tear your family apart. Is that what we are? Ethan asked, meeting her eyes. A family? Mia thought about the last week. About Ethan driving her to IV therapy every morning. About making funny pancakes and learning to braid hair. About 3 a.m. conversations and pinky promises, and the way he looked at their children like they hung the moon. Yes, she said finally. We're a family. Something shifted in Ethan's expression, relief and joy and determination all at once. Then we're going to fight like hell to keep it that way. By day 4, both twins were improving. Fevers gone, appetites returning, energy levels climbing back toward normal. Mia felt the tension in her shoulders ease fractionally. They'd survived the crisis. Together. She found Ethan in his office that afternoon, video call with his board of directors playing on mute while he typed responses in the chat. He saw her in the doorway and immediately muted his mic, walking away from the meeting. Everything okay? Fine. The kids are napping. Mia hesitated. Thank you. For this week. For helping. Mia, they're my children. Helping isn't optional. I know. But I've been doing this alone for so long that having someone share the load feels. She stopped, searching for words. It feels like I can breathe again. Ethan crossed to her, pulling her into his arms without asking permission. Mia stiffened for half a second before melting into the embrace, letting herself be held for the first time in years. You never have to hold your breath again, Ethan murmured against her hair. I've got you. All of you. They stood like that for a long moment, Mia breathing in his scent, expensive cologne mixed with laundry detergent and something uniquely him. It felt dangerous, this comfort. Like something she could get used to, something that could hurt when it ended. But it also felt right. The hearing is in 4 days, Mia said, pulling back slightly. Michael called. My aunt's lawyers are bringing character witnesses. People who'll testify I'm unstable. Then we bring our own witnesses. Ethan's jaw was set. People who'll testify to the truth, that you're an incredible mother who sacrificed everything for your children. What if it's not enough? Then we appeal, and keep appealing until we win. Ethan caught her face between his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. Mia, I need you to believe something. We're going to win this. Not because I'm wealthy or because I have resources. We're going to win because you love those children more than life itself, and because we're presenting a united, stable family. The judge will see that. You can't know that. No, Ethan agreed. But I can believe it. And I need you to believe it too. Mia wanted to. Wanted to trust that love and determination would be enough. That the universe would recognize what they'd built and let them keep it. But she'd learned the hard way that wanting wasn't enough. That night, after the twins were asleep, Ethan found Mia standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring out at the city. Penny for your thoughts? He asked, coming to stand beside her. Just remembering, Mia said. A month ago, I was looking at this city from street level. Everything seemed so far away, so impossible. And now you're looking down instead of up. Now I'm terrified of falling back down. Mia's voice cracked. What if the judge sides with my aunt? What if I lose them? What if this? She gestured at the penthouse, at the life they'd built. What if this was just a dream and I'm about to wake up back in that nightmare? Then we'll face it together, Ethan said firmly. But Mia, you need to stop waiting for disaster. Stop expecting the worst. Maybe, just maybe, things can actually work out. Things don't work out for people like me. What if they do? Ethan turned her to face him. What if you get to keep your children and heal and build a real life? What if partnership turns into something more? What if we get our happily ever after? That's not realistic. Screw realistic. Ethan's intensity took her breath away. I've spent my entire life being realistic. Being practical. Building empires and making smart investments and never taking risks on things that mattered. And then I found you. Found them. And suddenly realistic doesn't matter anymore. I want the fairy tale, Mia. I want us to win and be happy and build something beautiful. Is that so impossible? No, Mia whispered. But it's terrifying. Good. Ethan smiled. The best things usually are. Before Mia could respond, he kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, asking permission. But when Mia didn't pull away, when she leaned in instead, the kiss deepened. 3 years of memory and current reality collided in that moment. The man from the hotel bar and the father learning to braid hair. The stranger who'd offered comfort and the partner who'd fought for their family. When they finally pulled apart, both breathless, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. We're going to be okay, he said. All of us. Together. And for the first time, Mia let herself believe him. The courtroom was smaller than Mia expected. Wood paneling. Fluorescent lights. Rows of benches where spectators could sit and watch lives be decided. Mia's hands shook as she took her seat at the defendant's table beside Michael Chun, with Ethan on her other side. Across the aisle sat Diane Harper, Mia's aunt, and her lawyer. Diane was 55, impeccably dressed, her gray hair styled perfectly. She looked respectable. Stable. Everything Mia wasn't. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Morrison. The judge entered, a black woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and an expression that gave nothing away. Mia's stomach churned as everyone sat. This is an emergency custody hearing regarding Lily and Noah Harper, aged 3. The petitioner, Diane Harper, seeks custody based on claims the mother, Mia Harper, is unable to provide adequate care. Judge Morrison's voice was crisp, professional. Let's begin. Diane's lawyer stood, Lance Morrison, impeccably dressed and polished. Your Honor, the facts are simple. Ms. Mia Harper was homeless when my client discovered the children's situation. She had no stable housing, no consistent income, and was, by all accounts, unable to meet her children's basic needs. He presented photos, pictures Mia recognized from news coverage, showing her on that rainy street corner, looking desperate and defeated. These children were living in subway stations and shelters. They were malnourished. Their mother was so ill from self-neglect that doctors have stated she was months away from organ failure. Lance's voice dripped with practiced concern. Mrs. Diane Harper, their great-aunt, offers a stable home, 2-parent household, financial security. She's willing to provide everything these children need. And what about biological father? Judge Morrison asked. Mr. Cole is listed on the amended birth certificates. Mr. Cole's recent involvement is noted, Lance said carefully. However, his complete absence for the first 3 years raises questions about long-term commitment. Mrs. Harper offers proven stability. Michael Chun stood. Your Honor, if I may address those points. First, Mr. Cole was unaware of the children's existence until 3 weeks ago. Within hours of learning he was a father, he took immediate action to provide housing, medical care, and stability. DNA testing confirms biological paternity, and Mr. Cole has been actively involved in every aspect of the children's care since discovery. 3 weeks is hardly a track record, Lance interjected. 3 weeks of complete dedication, Michael countered. Whereas Mrs. Diane Harper has had 3 years to offer assistance to her niece and chose not to. In fact, he pulled out documents. When Ms. Mia Harper was 6 months pregnant and requested help, Mrs. Harper refused, stating that Ms. Harper had made her bed. Your Honor, this isn't about the children's welfare. It's about opportunism. Diane's face flushed red. Her lawyer leaned over to whisper frantically. Judge Morrison raised her hand. I'll hear from Mrs. Diane Harper first. Please take the stand. Diane stood, smoothing her suit, and was sworn in. Under questioning from her lawyer, she painted a picture of a concerned relative who'd only recently learned how dire the situation was. I had no idea Mia was homeless, Diane claimed, her voice trembling with emotion. If I'd known, of course I would have helped. Family is everything to me. But you knew she was struggling, Michael said when it was his turn to cross-examine. You knew she was a single mother with twins and no support system. I thought she was managing. She never asked for help. Didn't she? Michael pulled out a printed email. This email, dated 3 years ago, shows Ms. Mia Harper explicitly requesting assistance. You responded, and I quote, "You made choices that have consequences. I won't enable your irresponsibility." Does that sound like someone who cares about family? Diane's composure cracked. I was angry. My sister had just died, and Mia was throwing her life away. By having children? By getting pregnant by some stranger at a hotel. Diane's mask slipped entirely. She disgraced my sister's memory. The courtroom went silent. Judge Morrison's expression didn't change, but Mia saw the way she made a note on her pad. No further questions, Michael said quietly. Next came character witnesses. Diane's friends testified to her stable home and dedication. Then Michael called his witnesses, Mrs. Chun, who spoke about Mia's devotion to her children. The shelter director, who testified that Mia had always put the twins first, even when it meant going without herself. Finally, Catherine Rivera took the stand. In your professional opinion, Ms. Rivera, what is in the children's best interest? Judge Morrison asked. Catherine chose her words carefully. When I first encountered this family, I believed the children needed immediate removal. Ms. Harper was homeless, struggling, unable to provide basics. But that situation has changed dramatically. The children are now in a stable home with both biological parents. They're thriving. Lily told me she likes having a daddy who makes funny pancakes. Noah said his mama doesn't cry anymore. And if the children were placed with Mrs. Diane Harper? The judge asked. They would have material stability, Catherine admitted. But they would lose their mother, who they loved deeply. They would lose their father, who has proven committed despite the short time frame. Your Honor, I've seen many custody cases. What these children need isn't just stability, it's love. And they have that with Ms. Harper and Mr. Cole. When Catherine stepped down, Lance called for Mia to testify. Mia's legs felt like water as she approached the stand. She was sworn in, her voice barely audible, and took her seat. Ms. Harper, Lance began, circling like a shark. You were homeless, correct? Yes. You couldn't provide food for your children? I always fed them. I went without. So you admit you were malnourished to the point of organ failure? Mia's throat tightened. I did what I had to do to keep them alive. By almost dying yourself? Lance's voice was sharp. What would have happened to those children if you had died, Miss Harper? If your heart had failed in some subway station, leaving them alone? I would never. But you almost did. You were that close to abandoning them permanently. Lance leaned in. And now you've attached yourself to a wealthy man. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? That's not, Mia's voice broke. I didn't know who he was. I never asked for his money. But you took it. You moved into his penthouse. You've been living quite comfortably while my client has to fight for the right to give these children the stable home they deserve. They deserve their mother. Mia's voice rose, tears streaming down her face. I know I made mistakes. I know I struggled. But I never stopped fighting for them. I never stopped loving them. And I never asked my aunt for help because she made it clear I was on my own. Your Honor, Michael interrupted, standing. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained, Judge Morrison said. Mr. Morrison, move on. But the damage was done. Mia could see it in the judge's expression, in the way the court reporter looked at her with pity. She looked like exactly what she was, a desperate mother clinging to a life she hadn't earned. Finally, Ethan took the stand. Under Michael's questioning, he explained the night 3 years ago. His grief over his father's death. Meeting Mia. Waking to find her gone. Never knowing she'd been pregnant. When did you learn you were a father? Michael asked. 3 weeks ago. I saw Mia and the children on a street corner. Social services was trying to take them. And I saw their faces, they look like me. I knew immediately. What did you do? I stepped in. I provided housing. I got Mia medical care. I hired lawyers. I canceled meetings and cleared my schedule because nothing, absolutely nothing, was more important than these children. Ethan's voice was steady, certain. I'm not a perfect father. I'm learning. But I'm committed. Completely. Why? Lance asked when it was his turn. Why upend your entire life for children you'd never met? Because they're mine, Ethan said simply. And because their mother needed help. Because I saw a family in crisis and had the power to change that. Why wouldn't I? Very noble. But Mr. Cole, you've never been married. No long-term relationships. You work 80-hour weeks. What makes you think you're equipped to raise children? I'm learning, Ethan said. From Mia. From Mrs. Chun. From parenting books and YouTube videos and trial and error. Do I know how to braid hair or make proper pancakes or soothe a fever at 2 a.m.? Not naturally. But I'm figuring it out because that's what fathers do. And your relationship with Miss Harper? Is that real or convenient? Ethan's eyes found Mia's across the courtroom. It's real. It started as survival. I won't lie about that. But it's become more. He paused. She's the strongest person I've ever met. And I'm in love with her. The courtroom went silent. Mia's breath caught. Ethan held her gaze, and she saw the truth in his eyes. "No further questions," Lance said, looking annoyed. After closing arguments, Judge Morrison announced she'd make her decision within 24 hours. The courtroom emptied, leaving Mia, Ethan, and Michael standing in the hallway. "How bad?" Mia asked. "I don't know," Michael admitted. "It could go either way. Judge Morrison is unpredictable." That night, Mia couldn't sleep. She lay in bed with Lily and Noah tucked against her sides, memorizing the weight of them, the sound of their breathing. Tomorrow could be the last night she spent with them. She found Ethan on the balcony at midnight, staring out at the city. "Did you mean it?" she asked quietly. "In the courtroom. About being in love with me." Ethan turned, and his expression was open, vulnerable. "Yes. I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But Mia, I've spent 3 weeks watching you fight for your children. Watching you rebuild yourself. Being brave enough to let someone help. How could I not fall in love with that?" "I'm a mess," Mia whispered. "You're a survivor." Ethan crossed to her, pulling her close. "And for what it's worth, I think you might love me too." Mia pressed her face into his chest. "I'm terrified to." "I know. But I'm not going anywhere." He tilted her chin up. "Whatever the judge decides tomorrow, we face it together. Win or lose, we're a family. That doesn't change." Mia kissed him then, soft and desperate and full of all the words she couldn't say. When they pulled apart, she whispered against his lips, "I do love you. I'm terrified and broken and completely in love with you." "Good," Ethan murmured. "Because tomorrow we're going to win. And then we get to build our life together." Mia wanted to believe him. As they stood on the balcony overlooking the city, as dawn approached and their fate hung in the balance, she chose to believe. The call came at 10 a.m. "Judge Morrison has made her decision," Michael said, his voice giving nothing away. "We need to be in the courtroom in 2 hours." Mia's knees buckled. Ethan caught her, holding her steady while her world tilted. 2 hours, she repeated numbly. 2 hours, Ethan confirmed. "We've got this." They left the twins with Mrs. Chun, who promised stories and snacks and normalcy while the adults faced judgment. Lily hugged Mia extra tight before they left. "You'll come back, right, Mama?" "Of course, baby. I'll always come back. Promise." Lily's eyes were too serious. "Promise," Mia whispered, praying it was true. The courtroom felt different today. Heavier, charged with finality. Diane sat across the aisle, her expression confident. She thought she'd won. Mia could see it in the set of her shoulders, the way she barely glanced at them. Judge Morrison entered, and Mia's heart hammered so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. "I've reviewed all testimony, examined the evidence, and considered what's in the best interest of Lily and Noah Harper." Judge Morrison's voice was measured, revealing nothing. "This case presents unique challenges. On one hand, we have a great-aunt offering traditional stability, married household, financial security, no history of housing instability." Mia felt Ethan's hand find hers under the table, squeezing tight. "On the other hand," the judge continued, "we have 2 biological parents who, while they've known each other briefly, have demonstrated remarkable commitment and growth. The children are thriving in their care. Medical reports show both children and mother are healthy and improving." Judge Morrison looked directly at Diane. "Mrs. Harper, while I understand your concern for your great-niece and her children, I cannot ignore the evidence that you refused assistance when it was requested 3 years ago. Ms. Rivera's testimony confirms the children are bonding with both parents and showing no signs of distress in their current situation." Diane's confident expression faltered. "Furthermore," Judge Morrison said, her voice gaining steel, "this court does not look favorably on relatives who appear to seek custody only after discovering wealth has entered the picture. The timing is, at best, suspicious." "Your Honor," Lance started to stand. "I'm not finished, counsel." Judge Morrison's tone silenced him. "Ms. Mia Harper, I want to address you directly." Mia's breath stopped. "You made mistakes. You struggled. You found yourself in impossible circumstances and made choices that put your health at risk. However," the judge's expression softened fractionally, "you never stopped fighting for your children. Every decision, every sacrifice was made with their welfare in mind. That's what defines a good parent. Not perfection. Not unlimited resources. But unwavering love and commitment." Tears streamed down Mia's face. "Mr. Cole, your involvement is recent but undeniably authentic. You've demonstrated responsibility and dedication. The children clearly are bonding with you as their father." Judge Morrison looked down at her notes. then back up at the courtroom. Therefore, I'm ruling in favor of the respondents. Custody of Lily and Noah Harper remains with their mother, Mia Harper, with full parental rights granted to Ethan Cole. Mrs. Diane Harper's petition is denied. The gavel came down, and Mia's world exploded. They won. They actually won. Michael was shaking Ethan's hand, talking about paperwork and formal orders. Across the aisle, Diane was arguing with her lawyer, her face red with fury. But Mia couldn't focus on any of it. She turned to Ethan, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her while she sobbed into his shoulder. "We won," she kept saying. "We won. I told you we would," Ethan murmured against her hair. "I told you to believe." They drove home in stunned silence, the reality slowly settling. When they walked through the penthouse door, Mrs. Chun met them with questions in her eyes. "We won," Mia said, and Mrs. Chen's face broke into a smile. "Mama." Lily came running, Noah right behind her. "Did you bring us back?" "I told you I would," Mia said, scooping them both up despite them being too big to hold together. "I'll always come back. Always." "Forever and ever?" Noah asked. "Forever and ever," Mia confirmed. That evening, after the twins were in bed, Mia found Ethan in his office. He was staring at his computer but not really seeing it, lost in thought. "Hey," she said softly. He looked up, and his expression transformed. "Hey, how are you feeling? Like I can finally breathe." Mia crossed to him, and he pulled her into his lap without hesitation. "I keep waiting to wake up. For this to all be a dream." "It's real," Ethan promised. "All of it. The good parts and the hard parts and everything in between." "So what now?" Mia asked. "We just live." "We just live," Ethan agreed. "We figure out parenting together. We enroll the twins in preschool. We make funny pancakes and braid hair and have family dinners. We build a real life. And us." Mia's voice was quiet. "What are we?" "Whatever you want us to be." Ethan's hand came up to cup her face. "I meant what I said in court. I love you, Mia. But there's no pressure. We can take this as slow as you need." "What if I don't want slow?" Mia asked, surprising herself. "What if I want to jump in and see what happens?" Ethan's smile was beautiful. "Then we jumped together." He kissed her, and it felt like coming home. Like safety and possibility and new beginnings all wrapped into one perfect moment. 3 months later, Mia stood in the penthouse living room and barely recognized it as the minimalist museum it had been. Toys were scattered across the marble floors. Drawings covered the pristine white walls. The coffee table had crayon marks that Mrs. Chun had given up trying to remove. It looked lived in. Loved. Like a real home. "Mama, look." Lily ran up, holding a drawing of their family, stick figures with enormous smiles. "I drew us. It's beautiful, baby." Mia admired the artwork, noting how Lily had drawn her and Ethan holding hands, the twins between them. "Should we put it on the fridge?" "Yes." Lily ran toward the kitchen, Noah trailing behind with his own drawing. Ethan emerged from his office, loosening his tie. "How was their day?" "Good. Preschool orientation went well. They're excited to start next week." Mia moved into his arms naturally now, the gesture as familiar as breathing. "How was the board meeting?" "Productive. They're finally accepting that my priorities have shifted." Ethan kissed her forehead. "I'm leaving at 5 now. No exceptions." "Your father would be horrified," Mia teased. "My father was wrong about a lot of things." Ethan's voice was serious. "Work matters. But this," he gestured at the crayon-marked chaos around them. "This matters more." That night, after dinner and bath time and bedtime stories, Mia and Ethan sat on the balcony watching the city lights. It had become their ritual. These quiet moments together after the twins were asleep, processing the day and planning tomorrow. "I saw my doctor today," Mia said suddenly, "for my 3-month checkup. And," Ethan's voice was careful, "clean bill of health. All my levels are normal. She said I'm completely recovered." Mia looked at him. "I'm healthy, Ethan. For the first time in years, I'm actually healthy." "That's incredible." Ethan pulled her close. "I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have," Ethan corrected gently. "But I'm grateful you didn't have to." Mia rested her head on his shoulder, feeling peace settle into her bones. 3 months ago, she'd been desperate and broken, standing in the rain begging someone not to take her children. Now she was healthy and safe, building a life with a man she loved and children who were thriving. "I never thanked you," she said quietly. "For that day. For stopping your car. For stepping into our chaos. You don't need to thank me, Ethan said. You gave me everything that day. A family. Purpose. Love. I should be thanking you. Then we're even. Deal. Ethan kissed the top of her head. Have you thought about what I asked? Mia smiled. Last week, Ethan had proposed. Not with a ring or dramatic gesture. Just a quiet question over morning coffee. Will you marry me? Make this official. She'd asked for time to think, not because she doubted, but because she wanted to be certain she was choosing from a place of strength, not desperation. I have thought about it, Mia said now. And my answer is yes. I want to marry you. I want to build this life together. Officially. Ethan's arms tightened around her. Yeah. Mia pulled back to look at him. I love you. And I trust you. And I want forever. Forever sounds perfect, Ethan murmured, kissing her properly. From inside, they heard a small voice. Mama? I had a bad dream. They pulled apart, laughing softly. Real life, with all its interruptions and imperfections. I'll go, Mia said, but Ethan stood with her. We'll both go. They found Noah standing in the hallway, clutching his stuffed dinosaur. Ethan scooped him up without hesitation. Want to tell me about the dream, buddy? The mean lady came back, Noah said, voice trembling. The one who wanted to take us away. She's never coming back, Ethan promised. Mama and I made sure of it. You're safe. Forever. Forever and ever? Noah asked, echoing his question from months ago. Forever and ever, Mia and Ethan said together. They tucked Noah back into bed, checking on Lily, who slept soundly in the next room. As they stood in the doorway watching their children sleep, Mia felt Ethan's hand find hers. This was it. The life she'd fought for, the family she'd protected with everything she had, the love she'd almost been too afraid to accept. It wasn't perfect. There would still be bad dreams and hard days and moments of doubt. But it was theirs. And it was real. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The end. They did it. Against all odds, Mia and Ethan built a beautiful family and found their happily ever after. Thank you so much for following this emotional journey with me. If you loved this story, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought. And if you want more stories like this, hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, remember, family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about the people who show up and never leave.